Well, hey everyone, Andy Surwich here with Altaro Software, coming to you live from Microsoft Ignite in sunny Orlando, Florida. Now, if you've watched any of our previous webinars or, maybe read some of our ebooks or something, you might recognize the guy that's standing next to me. I've got Aidan here. How's it going, my friend?
Hey, Andy, how are you?
Hey, really good, really good. Now, it's really busy here, isn't it? I mean, really crazy even getting over here today. It's been...
Yeah, if someone walks through, sorry, there's 35,000 people here.
Very true, very true. So, we're at Microsoft Ignite. This is a huge conference, but it's that chance that Microsoft has every year to kind of tell us about their vision and, digital transformation and that whole message, right? Now, it seems to be one of the key themes this year, and I would say even last year, is helping IT pros move from that on-premises mindset to more of a cloud mindset. Now, having known you for a couple of years now and being MVPs together for a few years, I know that you kind of started with me over on the HyperV MVP side, then we transitioned into that cloud and data center management space. Now you're an Azure MVP, correct?
Yeah. So I'm an Azure MVP now. I have been for 2 years. Last year I was a HyperV MVP as well, but this year I lost my HyperV status because all I'm doing is Azure.
Azure.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. I thought it'd be nice to have you come on the show and kind of talk about that transition. Was it a difficult transition? Was it very organic and slow, or did it just kind of one day, boom, I need to work with Azure?
One day I came into work and Microsoft were there, and where I work we're Microsoft distributors and our customers are Microsoft partners. And Microsoft relies on us to reach out to a lot of the partners they don't have direct relationships with that we do.
Oh, okay.
And they came in, the Windows Server and Cloud lead for Ireland and our account manager, and they said, Aidan, you need to start learning Azure today because we need you to lead our Azure message with our partners from the technical point of view. As it turned out, on the sales point too. So that day, I fired up my first Azure subscription and started learning.
And off you went. And now you're an Azure MVP.
Yeah.
I read your blog myself whenever I need to, there's been 10 new things out in Azure. And I mean, it seems like whenever I open the Azure portal, it's like, oh, hey, now this is in preview. Or, there's something new all the time. And I mean, your blog is great for keeping up on what I would call the important stuff, at least for me, So what would be your advice for those IT pros that are out there today, still kind of in that on-premises world? What would be your advice as they transition to more of a hybrid cloud and ultimately 100% cloud-focused footprint?
You have to take the plunge. That's just what you have to do. The way I started was I decided I was going to deploy an RDS farm in Azure.
That'd be a really interesting kind of Kickstarter project there.
Yeah.
RDS farm. That's because, historically, that's been one of the most difficult services to support just because it's so user-centric, right? And whenever the user's involved, there's problems.
Yep.
So that had to have been pretty difficult, right?
It was Windows Server work, as it turned out. This is one of the things that a lot of people struggle with when they're looking at Azure for the first time. So I get a lot of customers coming to me, how do I design this? How do I design that? How do I design the other? And as I say to them, if you can deploy it on Hyper-V, if you can deploy it on VMware, if it's going to be virtual machines in Azure, they're going to be the same virtual machines. Right. They'll have a different name. Right. The storage under the covers will be different. But you actually don't care about that. If you can use Hyper-V Manager, you can use Azure. And you focus more on the things that matter more, so the software layer, instead of the hardware, the stuff that consumes our time.
Right.
The stuff that, we end up, bashing our heads against the rack door over and things like that. I've done that recently. And you refocus on what matters. And you get to the results more quickly. And when you start learning some of the cool stuff, so ARM templates, for example, that RDS farm, that might have taken me 2-3 days to get that up and running and say to the boss, look what I've just done. And now, there's actually already an ARM template out there that's shared by Microsoft. You answer a few questions, go for lunch for an hour, come back, domain controllers, storage, the whole RDS infrastructure and your session hosts with published desktops are built automatically.
That's really efficient. Like you said, you go to lunch, you come back, and you have a mini data center there, basically.
Pretty much. It's such cool stuff. Now, where to start off with, if I was and when I am talking to IT pros and saying, okay, what do you start off with? It's come down. You got to identify that thing you want, that you need, or you want. And very often, the easiest way of adopting Azure is to look at the hybrid services. So, if you've got branch offices and you need to do disaster recovery for those things, you need to do backup. Have a look at what Azure can actually do. So, for example, if I was using Altaro to back up my HyperV virtual machines, and I want some long-term offsite storage, well, fire up a storage account. You answer a handful of questions, grab the storage account name and the primary access key, bang that into Altaro backup. How long does that take?
Not long.
You got yourself some cloud storage for your backup. You got a DR solution there that's pretty easy to fire up on HyperV or VMware. In fact, I think Microsoft did a better job on their VMware deployment. It's what they use in Azure for Azure to Azure replication. And then there's the Azure File Sync, for example, which is digitally transforming file servers. So these solutions are great, but then there's also people getting to end of life with Windows Server. So we got Windows Server 2008, 2008 or 2 coming end of life pretty soon. And there's an option now to say, okay, I can lift and shift those things as they are with Windows Server 2008, 2008 or 2. Not that I recommend that, but you can lift that to Azure and get continued security fixes from Microsoft for free. So you don't have to pay for that super expensive, beyond end-of-life support contract. And just learn the networking fundamentals, the storage fundamentals. I love so I have a company, Cloud Mechanics, and I also teach at work at Micro Warehouse in Ireland, and I teach Azure. And in my Azure VM training, there's a lot of networking, and I always start that module by explaining to people, I have never, ever deployed a VLAN in my life. One of the most basic things you do in networking, which you probably do with your eyes closed. I've never done it. However, I can do super fancy, amazing stuff in Azure networking. And I love showing that stuff to the Cisco guys because they freak out, because this suddenly has made networking easy for everyone. It's not this super secret stuff with command lines that nobody understands. It's just, here's a couple of GUIs, you click here, here, and here, and magically the stuff just works. Connecting networks in 2 different continents, it's like 6 mouse clicks. Firewalling is just ridiculously easy. Azure has been designed to make the mundane stuff easy. So you focus more on what's valuable, what's running inside the VM or in the application or whatever.
Yeah, that's definitely great advice. Now, one final question I want to ask you before we wrap up is, for those people that are just starting to learn Azure or trying to figure out where to go to learn Azure, what are some good resources that you know of off the top of your head to kind of help with that?
Maybe cloudmechanics.com.
That'd be a good spot, right? Any others that you would recommend?
Microsoft launched a new site today, Microsoft.com/learn. So you can go on there. They've got small little nuggets of learning. They're sharing it for free. You do some good stuff.
We try.
Yeah, so have a look at Altaro and what Andy does. And Microsoft Mechanics is a good site. Microsoft will launch a new DevOps evangelist team that's run by Rick Claus. So have a look for @RicksterCDN on Twitter.
And I think the hashtag there is #AZOps, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So there's tons of material out there. My tip on it is check when it was published.
Right.
If it's more than 6 months old, keep moving.
Again, that whole thing with Azure, every time I open the portal, there's something new. It just moves so fast, it's really hard to keep up with it sometimes.
It's actually fun.
Right, I know. It keeps things interesting. So, well, hey, Aidan, I want to say thanks for having you on the show today. You're always great to have on and wealth of knowledge, so really appreciate taking the time to talk to us today.
I enjoyed it.
Thanks, Aidan. And be sure to stay tuned for additional interviews from Microsoft Ignite. Thanks for watching.